The Underwater Menace, the fifth serial of Doctor Who's fourth season, first broadcast in 4 parts for the 14th of January to the 4th of February 1967, and written by Jeffrey Orme. Now, as of the time of recording this, originally there was only actually 2 surviving episodes of this particular serial, as episodes 1 and 4 were missing. However, last year, in celebration of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, The Underwater Menace received a complete animated recreation. And that is what I recently finished watching through, so here's a basic explanation of it. Okay, so the TARDIS lands on a rock somewhere, and the Doctor, played once again by Patrick Troughton, and his 3 companions, Ben Jackson, played by Michael Craze, Polly Wright, played by Annika Wills, and Jamie McCrimmon, played by Fraser Hines, step out to kind of investigate what's going on and where they've landed. Now, side note, this is also technically Jamie McCrimmon's first trip aboard the TARDIS, so it does make a nice change for me, because we see Jamie in complete awe of the TARDIS. As a Scotsman from, I think, the 15th century, 16th century, I'm not entirely sure, given that he's the Second Doctor's longest-serving companion, appearing in the Second Doctor's second serial and then remaining until this last one, I've seen a lot of Jamie McCrimmon out throughout these serials, so it's nice to see him in awe, the actual one in awe, while Ben and Polly are just riding with it now. So it's nice to see the start of him. But anyway, they eventually come across a way into the rock and then find themselves captured by kind of some humanoid creatures and taken down to the lower levels in some kind of lift. It's discovered that they have actually landed in Atlantis, and the year is circa 1970 AD. To which, when the Doctor kind of remarks like, "Oh, maybe we're in ancient times," and Polly's like, "Well, no, we're in 1970, there or thereabouts." Everyone just asks her, "Well, how do you know we're in 1970? So I found this bracelet on the ground outside. It's from the Mexico Olympics in 1968. To which, if this story came out in 1967, then I guess this was another case of Doctor Who visiting or acknowledging events that were not too far in the future, like they did with Fear Her in 2006. That takes place during the London Olympics in 2012. Anyway, they're taken by the Atlanteans, and at first they're due to be sacrificed. However, the Doctor realises that some of the technology and things that they have down in Atlantis are rather familiar. For example, you notice that everyone is able to eat plankton, and the plankton that they're kind of serving up, while it is delicious, at least with the Doctor and co., it's noted that it goes bad very quickly. It goes bad like within the hour, so they have to eat it very quickly. And the Doctor ends up realising that this is reminiscent of a scientist who went missing, Professor Zaroff. And they discover that Professor Zaroff, played by Joseph First, he is in Atlantis and he is trying to help them. He is creating new technologies, new ways for the city to function. However, we then ultimately come to Zaroff's big scheme, because the people of Atlantis, they want to kind of return to the surface and re-acknowledge themselves amongst the world. And Zaroff is attempting to do that. However, the Doctor admits that there's no real way for Zaroff to bring Atlantis back to the surface from underwater. Hence, also, I don't think they actually explain why Atlantis is below the water in this story. I'm not sure they do that. I know that there are explanations in Disney with Atlantis the Lost Empire, which I still think is a fairly good film. You should still check it out if you get the chance. I don't think they actually give a reason as to why Atlantis sank, but anyway, it's down below the water, and Zaroff, he says that he's aware of this, and that if he can't bring Atlantis above the surface of the water, then the only thing to do is to lower the surface of the water. He plans to activate some machinery to basically drain away water above Atlantis so that Atlantis can be on the surface, and thus everything's back to normal. However, the Doctor knows that if you that they're at a very low... Oh god, so there's... They're just above the Earth's crust, and basically if they try and drain away water, then the molten core of the Earth is very, very hot. It will transform the water into steam, and that'll effectively crack the planet like an egg. Although Zaroff, he's not fazed by this. He doesn't believe the Doctor's wrong. He doesn't believe his calculation. So he actually believes this is going to happen, but then goes on saying, I'm the scientist who destroyed the world. Can't get bigger than that. So the Doctor and Co have to find a way to stop Zaroff whilst also contending with some of the people of Atlantis, including a servant girl who helps them out named Ara, played by Catherine Howe, a priest named Ramo, played by Tom Watson, Damon, a surgeon who works with Zaroff, played by Colin Jevons, two sailors who they end up encountering who help them out, named Jacko, played by Paul O'Neill, and Sean, an Irish sailor, played by P.G. Stevens, and the King of Atlantis, Thu, played by Noel Johnson. Ultimately, this is a story where I think it does well with what it has, and once again, it's not necessarily the greatest Second Doctor story. I'm sure everyone's going to have their favourites. I don't know if this would be among them, but at the same time, it's interesting to watch it. It's interesting to see how they get out of the various situations. I mean, even towards the end, it's got moments that I think are quite funny, like Zaroff is in his lab, he's about to set off the explosives, but then the Doctor manages to... Well, Doctor and Ben manage to separate him from the plunger that he ultimately needs to push in order to kind of activate the explosives to drain away the sea that will cause the end of the world. And they manage to separate him from that and make their escape, to which he's had an octopus in a tank, and the octopus kind of swims over to the button, and is seemingly about to push it, and he's like, yes, yes, and then just swims off. He's like, bugger, while his entire lab is flooding. To which, I think this story has some good moments. As I said, it's not the strongest, but I'm glad I saw it. And that, technically for the time being, actually wraps up the Second Doctor for me. Now, I haven't seen every Second Doctor story, but here's the thing. The 3 stories I still haven't seen yet aren't actually available yet, because the 3 remaining stories are the one that came before this one, the Highlanders, the Wheel in Space, and the Space Pirates. And those are the 3 stories from the Second Doctor's era that are still currently missing, that are either yet to be found or reanimated. Now, with the First Doctor, he still has 9 serials missing, although one of them, the Celestial Toymaker, I believe is actually due to be reanimated later this year. But with the Second Doctor, there are only 3 left that haven't received some animated reconstruction or been found, and it's those 3. And the Underwater Menace, he ran for 21 serials. I've currently got 18 of them. Some of them are partially animated, some of them are fully animated, but there we go. Until they release either animated reconstructions or find the Highlanders, the Wheel in Space, and the Space Pirates, my journey with the Second Doctor, for the time being, is complete. Will be my next Big Finish acquisition? No, not Big Finish, classic Doctor Who acquisition? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Until next time, see ya.